And before we get into the main event, just want to ask you for a couple medical updates. Jacare, I mean, clearly he had a break there. Do you have any update or speak to him or know his condition?
No, I haven't. I mean, I'm sure he's fine, or I would have heard by now, but no.
And how about Shane Burgos as well? That was just such an odd ending. It was kind of, I don't know, a little scary, I guess.
Yeah, it freaked me out too. He got hit in the temple, and it took a minute for him to react to it. And then the way that he was laying there, I thought something bad happened, and he got right up and was speaking fine, whatever. But we made sure that he went right to the hospital, and we're getting all the tests that need to be done on him done. So, I don't know if you saw me at the bottom of the stairs, but I'm like, you go straight to the hospital. And he said, I'm fine, and I said, we'll let the doctors determine whether you're fine or not. So made sure his corner knew that I wanted him to go straight to the hospital.
Very nice. Appreciate the update. Now, talking about the main event, Charles Oliveira, I mean, a heck of a fighter. Just can you give us your impressions of that fight as a whole and his performance?
Yeah, it was an incredible main event. Both guys had an unbelievable performance in that fight, and, Oliveira pulled it out. It was an incredible fight. Yeah. Incredible first round.
Amazing. You think Charles Oliveira, a guy that's been around here for a decade, and had some ups and downs and had some losses. So I'm just curious, along this path, I mean, did you ever look at him? He's clearly talented. He's got a ton of bonuses. But did you ever look and go, that guy's probably going to be a champion someday, or did you have concerns?
You never know. You never know with these guys. You never know what's gonna happen. I mean, this whole thing was based on timing. When you look at the timing of how this all played out, from Khabib's retirement to Conor losing to Poirier to a trilogy, Chandler looking good in the Hooker fight, Chandler, willing to do anything it took to fight anybody, and just all these things played out for this fight to happen tonight here in Houston, and it was an awesome main event.
Right away, as soon as champions get crowned, we start asking who their first defense is going to be against. I'm just curious. I mean, you got guys like Justin Gaethje out there, right? And then you've got this huge main event with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor coming up. Do you look at either of those as kind of having an inside track over the other? Is there a clear path right now that makes sense for them?
I literally haven't even thought about it. Never even crossed my mind yet. We'll get home and start worrying about that stuff.
I'm sure Brazil is going to be excited about seeing him fight again. I mean, we're in this kind of reopening process. Do you have any idea of when the UFC might be back to Brazil? I mean, is that even on the radar yet?
No. I mean, I'm sure some of us that live in Vegas are excited to get home and there's no more masks and all that stuff, but I don't know about the rest of the country or the rest of the world for that matter. I have no idea. Take this one day at a time.
And just on the event schedule overall, I mean, second event with a crowd. We know we got Arizona coming up, Vegas. Is there a move to start moving fight nights back to crowds as well, or are we still just pay-per-views now?
Yeah, no. We're not even looking at fight nights. I mean, we didn't even have gates in our budget until October and November. So right now to start trying to find places for fight nights, it just makes no sense. We'll stay at the cozy apex and do our thing for the rest of the year, I think.
Nice. One name I didn't mention in that title mix is Beneil Dariush. I just want to ask you what you thought about his performance tonight and kind of where he stands. He's kind of been on the outside looking in, but he's got a heck of a run going on now.
Yeah, listen, he went in and he didn't do anything. He didn't do any favors in gaining any new fans tonight, but, it was tough. A tough go against a fan favorite like Tony. He went in, did what he had to do to win, and he'll get another fight now. One of the top 5 guys.
Nice. Last thing for me, I did want to ask you about Tony Ferguson. Man, we saw the love for him in the building tonight, man. Super fan favorite, but obviously lost all 3 rounds. Have you talked to him, and where do you think he stands in his career? Because I think a lot of people are questioning kind of what does he have left.
Yeah, I hear you, and he had a tough 3 rounds. He couldn't stop the takedown. He couldn't get up from underneath Beneil and. Yeah, he had a tough night, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Dana, just going off of that, I think Tony has landed something like 30 strikes in the last 30 minutes he's been in the octagon, which is obviously not a very good sign for a fight.
What has he had?
He's landed 30 strikes in 30 minutes, so obviously not a great output. Do you think this is a case of where that fight with Gaethje just sort of maybe started to wind down his career?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be just, time gets us all, so it's one of those things. I don't know which one or both, but yeah, unfortunately, it's definitely hit Tony.
Yeah, I know you don't do this stuff on the night of the fight, but do you maybe start thinking like, well, look, he's looked so sort of uninspiring that maybe we should start looking at having that conversation with him, or do you let him make that decision still at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. He's tough as hell, though, man. He was in that heel hook, and his ankle definitely popped. I mean, his ankle, the rest of the fight, looked like a golf ball and maybe even a baseball. And he kept fighting. There's no quitting that dude.
Same with the armbar against Oliveira as well.
Yeah, no, he's tough.
Yeah. Maybe too tough for his own good.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the question about the fight nights and stuff, we're always asking you, will we go back to crowds for fight nights? Is probably biased with the Vegas-based media that maybe we don't want to travel every week. We'd rather stay at the Apex.
Right.
Do you think there's a possibility that staying at the Apex versus travel costs, travel expenses, it might work out in the long term that actually we never go back to fight nights with crowds?
No, one of the reasons that I believe personally that this sport has grown as big and as fast as it is because we take this thing all over the world. You know, we go into, you know, Oklahoma and places where people usually don't get fights. So the fight nights are a big part of our brand, and you know, we'll continue to do it when the whole country opens up. But for us right now, I mean, we're trying to figure out what's next for the next pay-per-view after Vegas. And guys, I've been to New York, and I talk to people from Massachusetts and places like this where people aren't doing still. I mean, and I was in New York last week. The Peninsula, one of the biggest, nicest hotels in the world, isn't open and hasn't been open for a year and a half. The St. Regis isn't open. Cipriani isn't open. Some of these, I mean, all these places are closed. And maybe some of you here are from New York, but that's crazy to me. You know, guy in the back, it's crazy to me. When I go there and these places are all still closed. I mean, you guys that live in Vegas. I was in Caesar's Palace the other day. You couldn't fit more people in that place. It was madness. You know, Vegas is rocking and booming. You come to Texas, you go to Florida. You know, people are living normal lives, but you start thinking about where we take this thing next. A lot of these states are still really, really closed down.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.